Alright guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today. For this one, we are still in Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, southern Vietnam, and we're going to do another out and about video for you then. So we're going to check out this place behind me, which is Heart of Darkness Brewery. And yeah, you can see it's kind of chaotic here, like the mopeds are just coming up and riding along the pavement. Just because. But yeah, really cool to be here. Heart of Darkness was the very first Vietnamese brewery that I ever came across, so I'm quite excited to go in and have a look at their tap room. So we'll do as we always do, we'll go in, we'll have a little look around, we'll try some of the beers. They've got a very nice food menu as well. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy this one, but I will let you see the absolute chaos that's happening outside this place in just a second. So let's do this. I hope you guys enjoy this one. Alright guys, so I'll just let you have a look at the absolute madness that's happening outside of Heart of Darkness. So this is the entrance, really cool. I've always liked the Heart of Darkness artwork, but yeah, right next to where I'm standing is just this. It's just absolute insanity, but yeah, this is Vietnam. So yeah, you can see, you know, the mopeds just decide randomly that they're going to go up on the pavements, and yeah, you really have to watch your back. So a little bit dangerous, to be honest, but yeah, we'll go in before we get hit by something. But yeah, you can see they've got this lovely little sort of terrace thing. They've got a second floor up there, so we'll maybe see if we can get in, we can go up there and have a little look later. But yeah, here's the entrance to it, so we'll go in and do a little roundabout in just a wee second. Alright guys, so just a little quick look at the interior. You can see it's quite busy here, but yeah, there you can see Heart of Darkness Brewery, Saigon, and it's a really nice little bar actually. If you come up here, you can see they've got all the fancy tap lists and stuff like that, and yeah, you can see the different artwork for the beers on the wall here, which I really like as well. But yeah, if we go back down, oh there we go, we'll get started on our first beer tasting then, which is this guy, simply called Bia. So you'll see that in just a wee second. Alright guys, well, time for tasting number one then here at Heart of Darkness Taproom in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City. So yeah, as I often do in these videos, I thought we would start off with something nice and light. It's just always a good way to start these videos. And the beer that we're going to have a look at for this one is one that I've never actually seen from these guys before, but it seems to be one of their kind of mainstays, if you like. It is simply called Bia, Vietnamese word for beer, and it comes in at 5% ABV. And they're saying that this one is an all malt craft lager. So yeah, remember the technical definition of a lager beer is one that is fermented using bottom fermenting yeast, cold temperature fermentation, usually 8 to 12 degrees Celsius, and this one, going by the looks of it, will be a sort of German Helles style lager, maybe a Czech Schmettler, I guess we could say too. But when the beer came out, it had a nice half finger of a frothy, I would have said very slightly cream coloured head, and yeah, you've got this lovely kind of pale golden straw colour. So remember, colour of your beer depends on a few things. One, the type of malts that you use. This goes a long way to determining your EBC rating. Two, length of your wort boil is going to play a role, because the longer you boil the wort, the more the sugars caramelise, and thus you get a darker colour of beer. But any barrel aging that you do or adjuncts you put into the beer will affect its colour as well, but you don't often have to care about that when it comes to different kinds of lager beers. So yeah, this one looks pretty much as you would expect from like a Helles lager, German Helles, or a Czech Svetli, as I said, lovely kind of blonde lagers, of course. Not too much in the way of visible carbonation with this one. You can see the glasses sweating a wee bit because of the temperature, but yeah, pretty much a crystal clear golden lager, this one. Quite I guess this will be the kind of gateway beer for a lot of people that are just discovering craft beer, but you know, I love a good German lager, so I'm quite curious to see what this one is like. What I look for in these beers is authenticity. I want them to taste like they would in Germany or in the Czech Republic. So yeah, let's have a wee look at this one. I mean, so aroma-wise, when you sugar it up, it's kind of typical of what you would expect. You've got a lovely little bit of breadiness, wee bit of sweetness, a wee touch of like noble hoppy character, and that little bit of kind of fruitiness in there as well. Going by the aroma, it is actually very mild. It's it is a little bit difficult to pick up some of the bready characters in a way. Like, I feel that this one, there's a little bit of, like, you know, white bready bread crust in there. There's a wee touch of wood and cracker and things. I'm also getting like a very slight hint of brown bread out of it. But yeah, fresh fluffy white bread in there. Wee bit of like McVitie's digestive biscuit, something like that, and then, you know, a wee bit of like honey or something, you know, just a little bit of that more concentrated sweet biscuit. I don't want to say caramel, it's not sweet enough for caramel, but I will say the malt in this one smells a little bit more European. It's got that little bit more dryness to it. Remember, German malt like Weiermann and so on has that little bit of kind of crispness to it. So yeah, I'm getting a wee bit more of the European crispness in this one. One of the main differences as well between the German Helles and the Czech Svetli is that the Czech lagers tend to be a little bit more kind of creamy, if you like, and yeasty leaning, whereas the German ones tend to be a little bit kind of drier and crisper. And of course, you've got slight differences in the hops as well. The Czech hops are a bit more spicy, the German ones are a bit brighter and smoother. So the malty character in this one for me has quite a bit of German character, but the yeasty notes are making the beer seem a little bit more Czech. So the yeasty side of this beer at the back of the nose is quite like mostly white bread, but a little bit more crusty and crackery. And the hoppy side of this one, it's the hoppy side of this beer, it's more German, it's more noble in terms of its character, like Hallertau or Tettnang, something like this. And like probably Mittelfrüh, because it's not too pungent. So yeah, very slight earthiness to it, wee bit of herbal character, of course. Wee touch of floral aromaticity, but mostly grassy rather than anything else too. Fruity side of the beer, it's kind of typical, like a little bit of sultana, kind of wee touch of apricot, little bit of oily pear, and then yeah, you've got that little bit of almost like gooseberry note out of it. But in terms of what you'd expect from a straight up lager beer, this one goes together aroma wise very nicely. Let's have a taste of it and see what it's all about. So our first beer here at Heart of Darkness, simply called BIA, Slange, 5% lager. Yeah, European malt all the way. It's got that kind of dry crispness, that slightly dry crispness that you get from the German malts. So yeah, it gives you kind of everything you'd want. It has got a wee bit more like hoppy bitterness to it as well. Maybe it's like it could either be Czech hops in this or one of the slightly higher alpha acid German ones like Perl or what's the other one? I forget. Hercules would be the 8% alpha, would be the slightly stronger one. So yeah, it could be a bit of Perl or Hercules in this one. It does give you that wee bit of bitterness, but I will say straight away, really nice, good quality, clean, crisp lager beer. That you can say that straight away. Certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. Let's just break the flavour down a wee bit for you. Yeah. So this was one of the beers where everything kind of goes together in the flavour as you would expect from the aroma. So for me, backbone of the beer, it is a little bit more of like a kind of brown bready bread crust. There's a little bit of like a woody note to it, wee kind of layer of cracker, definitely a layer of like wholemeal brown bread coming out of this one. Then on top of that, you've got a more fluffy white bread. But yeah, the bready character in this one has that kind of crisp dryness to it. I wouldn't be surprised actually if this beer has a little touch of Pilsner malt in it, because at the back of that middle third of your palate, you can really just feel that wee crisp character out of it. But on top of the white bready notes, there's a little bit of kind of McVitie's digestive biscuit. And in the dead centre of your palate, you get that little circle there, where it's like sort of honey-like, like a concentrated biscuit, and that is of course the alcohol coming out of the beer. So yeah, the malty side of this one is done really nicely, and as I say, pretty German, but there is quite a little bit of that kind of Czech Pilsen type quality to it as well. Particularly into the aftertaste, this beer shows you a bit more bitterness and a wee bit more crispness. So yeah, on the back third of your palate, you've got all those bready layers. Remember then the yeasty side of things. Then The yeasty part of the beer is a bit more like brown bready at its core, but slightly sweeter actually. Then round the edge, you've got a wee bit more of a kind of crisp white bready note, and then yeah, it's a little bit of a more bread crusty character there. But the yeasty notes linger into the aftertaste as well. Hoppy side of things then, this beer, as I say, it shows you more bitterness the more that you drink of it. Back corners of the palate, it's got a little bit of earthiness in there. As you move further forward, it's a wee bit herbal and woody, and as you come further forward, it's more floral and spicy. Like I said, I think either Czech Sats, Žatec in this one, but it could be, it could also be one of the slightly higher alpha acid German noble hops, like the Perl or the Hercules, something like that. So yeah, it does have that wee bit more spiciness to it. Round the front curve of your tongue, it's a bit lighter and grassy, a wee bit zesty, and then I think that covers everything we need to say about the green component of this one. But yeah, it's interesting this. So the fruity side of the beer, front third of your palate, to round off the flavour. The fruity side of the beer for me, I wonder if there's maybe an American hop in this as well, because it is actually more fruity than I would have thought. So you've got a wee bit of like, you've got a little bit of kind of sultana flavour at the back, but there's a wee touch of like passion fruit or apricot or something. It's getting quite a bit of like passion fruit or apricot. Simcoe would be the candidate for that. So I wonder if there's a wee bit of an American note to this one. But yeah, as you move further forward, you get a little bit of like oily pear, and there's a wee bit of kind of limey character behind the grassiness there too. So yeah, I wonder, maybe could well be an American hop in this. The more I drink of it, the more I think that. New Zealand, of course, there would be New World hops, I think is maybe a better thing to say. But yeah, whatever they've done with this, I think it works quite nicely, and it's a good, crisp and slightly more bitter lager beer. This one, it's quite hard to place stylistically, in honesty. Maybe it's a little bit hard to place this one stylistically, but the main question should always be, is it a good beer? The answer is yes. I think this is really nicely done. So mouthfeel wise, it's kind of mid-range within light body. It's got a nice crispness to it, and it's quite light and clean. This is one of the drier beers I've actually had in the lager category here in Vietnam this time. But yeah, IBU wise, I think this is 25 or 30 IBUs. A little bit of dryness in the malt base, wee bit of sweetness, and then yeah, you've got that little touch of fruitiness to it. But all in all, very nice lager beer. This one, happy ordered this, wouldn't hesitate to drink it again. So yeah, this one is Bia, 5% ABV, their sort of flagship lager here at Heart of Darkness Brewery in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City. I'll catch you guys in a second with something else. There's quite a few interesting beers on the menu here, so I can see us doing 4 or 5 in this one, so this one should be quite a good video. Cheers. Alright guys, well I thought I would just let you have a little look at the tap list that's on here today. Just for reference, we're here 25th of April 2025, and it's actually working quite well. I thought with the screen coming through the phone it wouldn't quite work. So yeah, they've got a bunch of their core range beers today: the Dream Alone Pale Ale, Loose Rivet New England IPA, Futile Purpose Cucumber Pilsner, Excited Magpie Dry Irish Stout, the Bia, the all malt craft lager, which you saw me try a wee minute ago, then Kurt's Insane IPA. I'm very curious to try this one because I've never come across this fresh, but I heard it's really pretty damn good. Dream Sensation Hazy IPA, the River IPA, Quietest Creature Lemongrass Whip, Tropical Bia, a version of their lager with the with passion and mango fruit on it. Then they've got a bunch of limited release ones over here. So yeah, the Shamefacedly Pale Ale, Coconut Mango and Cream Ale, what's it, Beautiful World Eldorado Pale Ale, No Doubt Dragon Fruit Brut Blonde Ale, that sounds quite unusual. Black Shadows Espresso Martini Stout, that sounds quite quirky. Then the Affair West Coast IPA, Sunlit Face Australian XPA. You don't see an XPA too often these days actually. Stupid Scoundrel Cold IPA, which I think will be our next one. Voices Beer Blanche, and an Eloquent Phantom Imperial Stout, which I think will be the last one of the day. But yeah, another thing to have a wee look at is the taps here. It's very close to the 50th anniversary of Independence Day for Vietnam, so they've put the little kind of rice paddy hats on them, and yeah, you've got the kind of skulls there. So as I said, I've always liked the Heart of Darkness artwork on the beers, but that's a little look at the tap list for you here. Surprised that this wee recording worked out actually, so let's go and get on with our second beer then. Right guys, time for tasting number 2 then here at Heart of Darkness in Ho Chi Minh. So yeah, for this one we are going to stick to the lighter end of the spectrum, and this is a kind of sub-style that is quite new on the block still. It's one that I do quite enjoy, and if memory serves me correctly, I don't think I've had this from a Vietnamese brewery yet, so that makes it quite exciting as well. But the guys here were telling me this beer has turned out to be quite popular, so maybe it will go into their core range, who knows. But yeah, this one comes in at 6.7% ABV. It's a cold IPA, and it's called Stupid Scoundrel. So I can see on the camera, to you guys it actually appears quite golden, but to the naked eye it's a little bit more amber than it's appearing. But yeah, it looks great. Lovely half finger of a frothy, I would say kind of cream coloured head when this one poured. It's settled down a wee bit. Good little bit of carbonation visible in it as well, and you can see it's also got that little bit of natural haze to it. Now when it comes to cold IPAs, quite often these beers are really quite blonde in terms of their colour. This one is a little bit darker, but then again it is heavier in terms of its ABV. I think this is one of the heavier cold IPAs that I've ever had actually. I've had one double cold IPA and that was about 8%, and that one was quite amber leaning in terms of its colour too. So yeah, I think we'll get a little bit more sweetness and things out of this one. Now remember, normally an IPA is an ale. That means it uses top fermenting yeast, and it will ferment between like 15 and 18 degrees Celsius. But yeah, when it comes to cold IPAs, I believe what they do with these is they use like a low temperature fermentation ale yeast, and they'll ferment at like a good few degrees colder than that. And I think that's what technically separates it from like an India Pale Lager. You know, they're using lager yeast. So yeah, I think that's the technical difference. Do correct me on that in the comment section below if I am wrong though, because yeah, that can happen sometimes. But yeah, all in all, appearance wise it's not out of the ordinary for this style, just one of the darker ones I've come across. But let's have a little look at the aroma of this one then and see how we go. So aroma wise, it comes across really, really nicely. It's actually, the aroma of this one's really reminding me of like the more old school West Coast pale ales. If I think back to like Kernel from London in England, this beer's really reminding me quite a little bit of that. But I find with the cold IPA, you get this real, just very soft juiciness out of them. And it must be just the yeast that's being used in this one, and or maybe the combination of the specific yeast and malt that is used for this style. But yeah, aroma-wise, this is really nice. It's got a good little bit of sweetness, lovely soft, fruity, juicy character, and just that little bit of bready character as well. So yeah, the way that the aroma goes together is nice. Let's break that down a wee bit more. So, backbone of the beer, you've got that lovely kind of fresh white bread crust in there. Wee bit of cracker and wee bit of wood, as you very often get. And on top of that, I do get a little tiny hint of like a sweet brown bread. The white bready character that comes out of this one is also very, very sweet. This one, the malt is, generally speaking, the malt is a little bit sweeter, so I think this beer is potentially using American malt, like maybe a bit of Turo or something like that, but you know, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some crystal in it as well, but the German crystal malts normally are just that little bit drier, and say that the cold IPAs for me always tend to have quite a smooth aroma, so yeah, that's why I say the yeast is playing a role in this one too. But yeah, yeasty part of the beer for me at the back of the nose is quite like sweet and brown bready, but it's got a little bit of white bready and kind of crackery character to it as well. But there's quite a little bit of brown sugary note coming out of this beer. There's a bit of like toasty caramel in there, McVitie's digestive biscuit, and also some kind of straight up sweet caramel. So yeah, the way that the malty side of this beer goes together, I think, is really nice. It does remind me of some of the old school Kernel pale ales, like I said. Yeah. So, in terms of the hops in this beer then, remember with IPAs, there are 3 types of hoppings that you can use in these beers. You've got early addition hopping, which takes place within the first hour of the wort boil. That gives you most of your bitterness, a very kind of deep, dank green component, whereas you also have late addition hopping, which is usually within the last half hour or so of your wort boil. A little bit of bitterness, mainly flavour and aroma, and it gives you a very bright green component. Then dry hopping, which takes place after the wort boil is complete. That's all about flavour and aroma, and again it's very bright in terms of its green component. So West Coast IPAs use all three, which is why they're deeper, danker, more bitter and oily. New England IPAs tend to rely on late addition and dry hopping, which is why they're softer and juicy. I think that for the most part, cold IPAs are using late addition and dry hopping, but I don't think it's unheard of to use a little bit of early addition or whirlpool hopping, whatever you want to call it in these. But the green component in this one is very, very soft. I want to say it's maybe like Enigma from Australia or Nelson Sauvin that's in this one. There's something quite familiar about this. It smells like it might be New Zealand hopped, but it has this kind of nice gooseberry note to it. Maybe a little bit of strawberry. Strata would be another candidate for this because it's got that strawberry note to it. But yeah, I get lots of gooseberry out of this one, quite a lot of strawberry. There's a wee bit of gooseberry as well for sure, and maybe a little bit of like apricot and stuff like that as well. But yeah, for me it's mostly like gooseberry and kind of strawberry notes that I'm getting out of this one. But a lovely aroma actually. I think this is going to be very, very nice. So as I always say, take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma of your beer before you get stuck in. But we're going to taste this one now. So yeah, this one is the Stupid Scoundrel 6.7% ABV cold IPA from Heart of Darkness Brewery in Saigon. I've got a slightly different backdrop for this one, and you can see the voodoo heads above me as well, which I thought was very cool. But yeah, let's try this one. Let's launch it. That's pretty damn nice, yeah. First impression, just really smooth, quite slightly oily and quite slick, easy drinking beer, this one. You could easily tan a few of these, and that's kind of dangerous. The cold IPAs are that little bit higher in ABV, but they're just very easy to drink. But I will say the bitterness in this builds into the aftertaste too, so this one definitely has had a wee bit of early addition hop as well. But yeah, nicely balanced beer this. Yeah, so middle of your palate, backbone of the beer, kind of fresh white bready bread crust. It's got a little toasty element to it as well. You've got a wee bit of woodiness going further forward. Definitely some cracker in there on top of that. A brown bready layer which actually gets kind of drier and more prominent the further into the aftertaste you go. Then above that you've got you've got more of a kind of white bready layer which feels kind of dense and quite wet in a way. And I'm going to say straight away, European malt in this again. Like what I said about American malt before, definitely not in the flavour. The malt is too dry and not oily enough, I think, to be American malt. But yeah, a little bit of a toasty kind of brown sugary note in this one, like a wee bit of toasty caramel. McVitie's digestive biscuit in the middle of your palate. You've got that little bit of sweet caramel in there too. This one at 6.7% ABV, it actually covers its alcohol okay, and you know, lagers, when you go above a certain ABV, they'll struggle to cover that alcohol. But this one does it quite nicely. It doesn't feel overly boozy, but yeah, I think there's a little touch of Pilsner malt in here too, because you know the biscuity characters that you're getting, and also you've got that wee bit of crispness further back on the palate. The yeasty side of this one too. It's kind of like, it's a little bit like brown bread at its core, then a more kind of grainy, like quite a sweet brown bread at the core, then a more grainy brown bread around the edge, and then like a toasty bread crust. But yeah, back third of your palate, the flavour's taller. In the middle third of your palate, it condenses down that. So yeah, malty side of this one is done quite well, and the beer has enough body for its ABV as well, which is good. So yeah, hoppy side of things then. Back corners of the palate, you get a nice little bit of earthiness in there, but as you move further forward, there's quite a wee bit of pine resin to this one, and that kind of lingers out into the aftertaste too. But as you come further forward, it's a little bit more floral and spicy, and round the front curve of the tongue, it's just that little bit lighter and grassy. The kind of pine resiny notes and the gooseberry character that the beer has, that makes me think Nelson Sauvin from New Zealand, because that's like 16% alpha acid, so it's going to give you that piney resiny note. But yeah, the fruity side of things for this one is pretty much like what I'd expect. So like back of the palate, it's got like the back of the back of that front third of your palate, you've got a wee bit more like grapefruity things. As you move further forward, you get a wee bit of like apricot and mango maybe.
like dry apricot, and then further forward yet, gooseberry, little bit of strawberry. I want to say strata, and maybe a wee bit of like Idaho 7 or something like that. There's a more tropical hop in this one anyway. But fruity side of this beer, quite nice and oily. In terms of the mouthfeel then, it's like bottom end of mid-body, top end of light-bodied. Carbonation's quite crisp. Lovely little bit of oily slickness to it as well. Then the backbone of this beer, the malty bit, little bit dry, smoother, slightly sweeter on top, and on top of that, you've got that nice oily, fruity sort of thing that comes out of it as well. Really nicely balanced beer, this one. I'm going to enjoy finishing this off. Let's say cold IPA this one, but it drinks like some of the more old school West Coast pale ales that I've had in years gone by. So if you like Kernel from London, or even New Barns from Edinburgh these days, this one I think will be right up your street, and I hope they keep this. I mean, this could probably sell quite well in Vietnam with the temperature and things. So this was Stupid Scoundrel. Cold IPA, 6.7% ABV. That's beer number 2 then here at Heart of Darkness. Really good stuff. Catch you guys in a second with something else. Cheers.
Yeah guys, so like any good craft beer venue, they've got a fridge of beer that you can take away. So let's just have a little quick look at this. Yeah, they've got the Bia, the Tropical Bia, then they have their Dream Alone Pale Ale, the Kurt's Insane IPA, the Coconut and Mango Cream Ale, the River IPA, Beautiful World Eldorado Pale Ale, Primeval Forest Pilsner, Black Shadows Espresso Martini Stout. This one down here, which I think is the Dragon Fruit Brut Blonde, they've got a few of the beers in bottles there as well. That one's the Cucumber Pilsner. Then down here, Kurt's Insane IPA once again, the Quietest Creature Lemongrass Wit, Dream Alone Pale Ale, the Loose Rivet New England IPA, down here the Excited Magpie Dry Irish Stout, the Shadow, which I believe we tried on the channel before, the Barrel Aged Imperial Stout, Director's Chocolate Porter, that would be quite interesting I have to say, then the Ghost, and then the Dream Sensations Hazy IPA. So these are all the things that you can get to take away if you're here at Heart of Darkness in April 2025. There you go, nice takeaway fridge right there. Alright guys, well, time for tasting number 3 then here at Heart of Darkness. So beer number 3 is a very popular style at the moment. It's a style that I don't think I've had from this brewery before, and one that I really do quite enjoy actually. So I'm really curious to see how this turns out. This is another one of their very popular beers actually. So this one is called Loose Rivet. It comes in at 7.5% ABV, and this one is a New England Hazy, whatever you want to call it, IPA. So when the beer poured, it had a lovely kind of 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say kind of almost perfect white head actually. You can see this one has a lovely kind of like mango juice colour. I always like comparing New England IPAs to different fruit juices because that really is just what their appearance reminds me of. But this one is pretty damn soupy and gloopy actually. So remember, the level of haze you get in a New England IPA depends usually on the oak content and wheat content, and to a degree what yeast you use. That can vary from brewery to brewery and beer to beer. But for a 7.5%er, this one is pretty damn hazy actually. It looks really nice. You can see that when I put my hand behind the glass there. Not too much in the way of visible carbonation, but it looks really nice and pretty much in line with what you would expect from the style. The other thing I would say about this one is that at 7.5%, this one's actually quite heavy in terms of a single IPA. So actually, it's quite quite heavy for a single IPA for sure. But this one for me I think is going to be really nice. I've heard good things about this beer. They told me it's really quite popular. So let's have a little look at it. Appearance-wise, nothing surprising, of course, but aroma-wise, this is really nice. As I've often said in my New England reviews, these beers can lean a couple of different ways. They can be more sort of farmhousey and yeasty. They can be a little bit more kind of rye-leaning and grainy. That's more common in the New England brewed New England IPAs. But as the style has gone to other places and evolved a little bit more,
It's more leaning toward like oaty creaminess, wheaty bitiness, barley malt bread, and kind of sweeter side of things. The impression I get of this one from the aroma is that it's a little bit more oaty and barley malt leaning, but I get the feeling that we'll get a good little bit of wheat out of this one later on. But yeah, aroma wise, very soft, very juicy, really nice and oaty leaning. Let's just break that down a bit more. Yeah, oaty, very oaty. I get quite a little bit of skittle out of this one too, which some of the New England yeasts are going to give you. Yeah. So yeah, backbone of this beer, lovely fresh white bready bread crust, little bit of wood, little bit of cracker as you very often get. Yeah, tiny bit of wood, tiny little bit of cracker, teeny little bit of like wholemeal brown bread. Lovely little bit of like fluffy white bread from the barley malt in there. You can smell like a slightly more dense, wheaty white bready note out of this one. Not too bitey, and usually that would indicate American wheat. European wheat is quite a little bit more bitey than American wheat, or North American wheat I should say. But there's a lot of oaty creaminess to this one. And this is very fresh too. As I've often said in these reviews, when it comes to the oaty side of your beers, it can often be a very good indicator of how fresh your beer is. Essentially, the fresher the beer is, the creamier the oats are, the older it is, the drier they are. So yeah, this one, very, very fresh, as you would expect when it's on tap at the tap room, of course. But yeah, you've got a lovely little bit of, you've got a lot of oaty creaminess to this one. You've got some Skittle type aromas coming out of that too, and a wee bit of like a Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy kind of thing coming out of it. A little tiny touch of biscuit as well. But yeah, the way this one goes together is very nice. The yeasty side of this beer is very much like yeasty side of the beer is very much kind of like white bready, kind of farmhousey, I would say. Yeah, so kind of white bready and farmhousey. You've got that nice little bit of like bread crusty, crackery sort of note to it as well. Yeah, the yeasty and malty side of this beer gives you pretty much everything that you would want. So yeah, this one, malty and yeasty side of things, really very, very nice. Now, in terms of the green component, this one, it smells quite smooth and quite oily actually. So yeah, for me, the malty side of this one's quite smooth and creamy, but a little touch of wheaty bite the more you smell of it. But yeah, the hoppy side of this one, very like floral and oily, a little bit grassy, of course, wee tiny bit of earthiness to it as well. But it's actually got a really nice kind of yeah, really quite, it's really more oily, and it's almost kind of cryo-like in a sense too. So yeah, wouldn't be surprised if there's a little bit of cryo hop or something like this, or lupulin oil or something like that that's gone in here, because that green component is just very, very smooth. Yeah, but yeah, a little touch earthy, quite floral, nice little bit grassy of course, and yeah, the way that that goes together is really, really nice. Nothing unexpected about that. In terms of the fruity side of the beer, for me, it has got a little bit of a peachy note to it. Lots of juicy ripe mango, maybe even a slight guava. Guava for me has always been a little bit more of a green kind of mango. Yeah. So yeah, nice little bit of earthiness, as I say, with that. No real pininess, big floral notes, a little bit of zesty grassiness kind of behind that on the green component, and the fruits, that's actually masking the fruits a little bit. But yeah, bit of peach, guava, mango, some softer apricot and pineapple and stuff like that in there, and maybe a little hint of like tangerine orange, but this is mostly a tropical New England IPA, this one. I think we can safely say that. A bit difficult to guess the hops in this, to be honest with you, but it smells really, really pretty nice. So let's have a taste of this one then and see what it's all about. Loose Rivet, 7.5% ABV, New England Hazy IPA. Slange it. Yeah, that's really pretty damn nice, I have to say. Like I said, Very creamy, very oaty leaning New England IPA, this one. If you like your hazy smooth with just a wee touch of bitterness at the end, you are going to enjoy this one. I know, that's a really nice beer. It's not often that I drink single IPAs anymore, just because of like the import prices and stuff like that, or the prices of the beer because of the import in Hong Kong. But yeah, this one for a 7.5%, this has got a big bit, big flavour to it and a nice kind of punchiness to it. So really nice beer. Backbone of this one, middle of your palate. It's got a nice little bit of an almost kind of white bready, brown bready bread crust in there. You've got a wee touch of, you've got a wee touch of like a woody character to this one, a wee bit of cracker as well. Slight layer of a more kind of wholemeal brown bready sort of note. And a wee bit of a more wholemealy brown bready sort of note in this one. And then you've also got the more white bready character sitting on top of that. So you get the barley malt out of this one, which feels a little bit more drier, kind of more European. And I will say, I keep getting this impression from the Heart of Darkness beers. They smell a bit more American in their malty character, but the actual flavours I'm getting seem to be more European from the malt base. So you've got the fluffier white bread in there, which has a wee bit of dryness to it. You've got some really nice wheaty notes above that. The wheaty character is smoother further forward, of course, more bitey further back. So I've often said sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, but more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. But the wheaty, the more dense wheaty white bready layer is there, and you have that bitiness further back. On top of that, you get the oaty side of the beer. So down the middle line of your palate, you've got that nice oaty creaminess coming out of it. And it gets a little bit drier out toward the edges of your palate there. In the dead centre of your tongue, it's a little bit more like, it's a little bit more, it's got a bit of that Werther's original butter candy butterscotch to it, a wee bit of biscuit. And these are all things that you would expect of a New England IPA, but it's really quite smooth more than anything else. On the back third of the palate, you start to get the yeasty characteristics out of this one. So you've got all the bready layers that I talked about. But then the yeasty side of this beer, at its core, it's got a little bit more brown bread, a bit of a kind of crackery white bread around the edge, and then a wee bit more kind of bread crust to it. And you do get that kind of Skittles flavour coming out of it later on as well. So yeah, malty yeasty side of this one's really nice. Let's focus on the hoppy side of the beer then, just to kind of round off. So yeah, hoppy side of this beer. It's a little bit more kind of, it's got a little bit of earthiness to it. Then as you move further forward, there's a wee bit of, there's a tiny bit of pine resin, but really the green component in this one is more kind of like floral, to be honest with you. And it's quite wet, of course, I would add that too. Round the front curve of your tongue, the beer's a little bit lighter and more grassy. But yeah, there's not a great bitterness from this one, but that's kind of what you would expect from the New England IPA. It's a softer and more kind of juicy beer style rather than anything else. So yeah, that's to be expected. So yeah, in terms of the green component, nothing unusual about this. In terms of the fruity side of the beer then, front third of your palate, you get all that nice oily, fruity, juicy bubble there. Again, very tropical leaning beer, this one, just a wee bit of citrus into the aftertaste. So yeah, at the back of that front third of your palate, there's a little bit of kind of peach sitting on top. So yeah, you've got that little peachy note in there, a wee bit of like guava and ripe mango underneath, then maybe a little touch of passion fruit, and as you move further forward, it's got like apricot and pineapple. I think there's a few tropical hops in this one, maybe a little bit of Citra, Galaxy, and maybe like Idaho 7, something like this. This beer comes across as being really quite tropical in its nature. But as you move further forward, there's a wee bit of that lemony, limey kind of character coming out of it. Yeah, the citrus, I think Citra in this one. Maybe a little bit of like Motueka for the juicy lime. But yeah, really tropical leaning, but yeah, into the aftertaste, more floral and more kind of lemon and limey. But yeah, Really nice New England IPA, this one. I really quite like this, but very oaty leaning for sure. In terms of the mouthfeel then, I'd say this one is like top end to mid bodied, maybe even bottom end to full bodied, which is impressive for a single IPA. As I say, this one's only 7.5%, so 8 is usually when you start getting into double territory. But yeah, so yeah, top end to mid bodied, bottom end to full bodied, really smooth, kind of creamy texture to this one. A little bit drier into the aftertaste. Your IBU's probably about 30 in this, maybe 40, because it does give you a wee bit of lingering bitterness. Malt base is a bit drier, smoother in the middle, creamier on top. Really not a very sweet New England IPA, this one. Then yeah, you've got a lovely juicy fruity character to this one. So yeah, in all honesty, really nice. Maybe even one of the best single New England IPAs that I've had when I think about it. I really like this one, especially on tap. It's really nicely done. But yeah, this one is the Loose Rivet, 7.5% ABV, New England IPA. One of the core range beers here at Heart of Darkness. Let's leave it at that for this one. There's another 2 beers that I've got my eye on for this video, so yeah, let's go and have a look at those later. And I think we're going to try some food as well, because I'm starting to get a wee bit peckish. Catch you guys in just a second. Cheers.
Alright guys, so as I said in the last review, it was starting to get a little bit peckish, so I thought it was about time to have a wee look at the food menu. So just before we get started on this, remember that 100,000 Vietnamese dong is in the region of 30 Hong Kong dollars, £3 sterling, like €3.25, $3.50 American, something like that. So that gives you a rough idea of the prices that you're going to see in here. But yeah, they have got a really nice food menu actually. Just look at this. It seems to be like American barbecue, a lot of it. So yeah, Chef Michael's Pitmaster platter. That I have to say looks pretty damn good. The meat sweats, you can order all of this stuff. This looks pretty damn awesome, I have to say. The tomahawk steak. Yeah, that looks very, very good as well. Might need to try that Australian beef they're using here, which is good. Yeah, Viva Mexico, little taco plate. Cajun seafood platter, not my thing that, of course I can't really eat fish. The Now It's a Party, like, what's that, sausages and steak and all sorts of smoked meats and stuff in there. Getting piggy with it. Pulled pork and things. I'm very curious about their pulled pork, I will say that. But yeah, once you come over here, you're getting sort of appetizers and things like that. The artisan board, which is lots of different cheeses and hams and stuff like this. The mesa board as well. They've got some little sliders too, actually. I don't see pictures of the sliders here. But yeah, you can get oysters, nachos, Texas chili bowl. The nachos, I have to say, look very, very good. I think Yuli and I were quite tempted by those. But yeah, some bites. Yeah, you get your edamame. I'm not sure exactly what that is, to be quite honest with you. But yeah, onion rings, char siu pork balls, south of the border mac and cheese croquettes. Thank you. This one, smashed potato, birria bites, calamari as well. So it's very nice. Different fries as well. You can add things on and have like dirty fries. Steakhouse, killer truffle, Bangkok, Diablo, chili cheese, brisket chili cheese. Have to say these sound quite good. Might need to get these as a little bit of a snack. But yeah, different salads and things here. You can get your add-ons. But yeah, they've got the Greek salad. Would that be any choice? If I'm pronouncing that correctly, Waldorf, Caesar salads. But then yeah, the burgers, black and blue. That sounded pretty damn good actually. I think that would be very nice. Pepe El Toro, unicorn smash, Leonard's pulled pork. I love pulled pork. The animal, which sounds interesting with the chili con carne, Americano Classico as well, and yeah, chicken fajita. The tacos sound pretty interesting too. Chicken fajita, grilled fish, barbacoa, shrimp, vegetarian Spanish. And of course they've got all their wing deals here as well, which are pretty good, yeah. Thai red curry, Bangkok hoisin, tart and sweet chili, caramelized fish sauce, pineapple teriyaki, banana mango jalapeno, buffalo and blue cheese. All of these, the buffalo and blue cheese would probably be the one that catches my fancy the most. But of course when you come over here, a few different pastas and things, sun-dried pesto, Chef Michael's Carbonara, Birria Bolognese, Misto Mare, and then yeah, over here a few other things. So they've got fish and chips, bangers and mash, slow and low beef brisket, Chef Michael's Cassia spare ribs, that sounds good, half smoked chicken, London broil, a T-bone steak. I've never actually tried a T-bone steak when I think about it. But yeah, they've got some desserts here as well, which sound very interesting. So Magpie Irish Stout, tiramisu, and then yeah, the chocolate stout cake, which I have to say looks very, very tempting. I think that is the end of the menu. Yeah, it just tells you the Da Nang and Saigon addresses there. So I have to say, very, very good food menu here at Heart of Darkness in Saigon. Let's see where the video takes us after this, but very impressed with their menu, I have to say that. Alright guys, well, time for tasting number 4 then here at Heart of Darkness. And yeah, I noticed just before I started filming that they are playing For Whom the Bell Tolls by Metallica. I love Cliff Burton, that little bass intro, awesome. But yeah, for beer number 4 then, we're going to have a look at another style, well, another sub-style I guess. We're sticking to the same style as we've had for the last 2 reviews, but this one is a sub-style that I really do quite enjoy. A little bit more old school, and if these beers are done right, they're just awesome. So yeah, beer number 4 is called Kurt's Insane IPA. It comes in at 7% ABV, and as you can see from the appearance, this one is a West Coast IPA. Yeah, so when this beer poured, it had about a 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say kind of yeah, cream coloured head once again. That's faded away to be a sort of thinner, more foamy layer, and you've got a nice ring around the edge of the glass there. And yeah, the head is holding up quite well on this one actually. As I say, just that nice thin layer. But yeah, colour-wise, this beer has a lovely, more kind of rich amber colour to it. When it comes to the West Coast IPAs, for me, this style can lean 2 ways. It can be a little bit more sort of oily and caramelly, such as the Sierra Nevada Torpedo, or it can be a little bit more bready and biscuity, such as the Pliny the Elder from Russian River. So yeah, this one, just going by the colour of it, I think this is going to be a little bit more sort of caramelly and oily, I would say, but something about the colour makes me want to say it might be German crystal malt that's used in this rather than American two-row, because the American two-row ones tend to be even more amber than this. But anyway, that's me being a nerd once again. But yeah, appearance-wise, this beer looks pretty much as you would expect from the West Coast IPA sub-style. It looks absolutely great. So let's have a little look at the nose on this one and see what it's all about. Yeah. Straight away, really, really nice smelling beer. Not too pungent in its aroma, right enough. Like I said earlier, these beers tend to use early edition hopping as well as late and dry, so they can be a bit more pungent in their aroma, but this one's actually it's actually pretty mild in terms of what it's going for. So yeah, really nice smelling beer, I have to say that. Yeah. So, gives you everything you'd want as well. You've got a lovely little bit of bready character, nice green hoppy notes, and then a big oily fruity character too. So yeah, let's break it down. Backbone of the beer, lovely kind of brown bready bread crust. You've got a nice little bit of kind of woodiness in there. Wee touch of cracker as well. But yeah, wholemeal brown bready notes in the base. And they're a little bit drier as well. That makes, you know, as I said earlier with the other videos, or the other beers, sorry, they smelt like they were made with American malt, but they actually tasted like they were made with more European malt. So yeah, you've got that nice kind of wholemeal brown bready base, white bready character sitting on top of that, toasty caramel on top, then a little bit of a McVitie's digestive biscuit, and yeah, oily caramel, more biscuity caramel, wee touch of that Werther's Original butter candy, butterscotchy sort of thing. But yeah, the brown sugary notes in this one, and the aroma is quite mild. It smells a little bit more kind of bready and biscuity, but you are getting little hints of those kind of deeper caramelly notes out of the beer as well. But yeah,
malty side of things on this one's really nice. The yeasty character is quite similar, a little bit brown bready at its core, a wee bit more, brown bready at its core, a little bit more white bread to the yeast as well, and then a wee bit of bread crust. I mean, the malty yeasty side of this one is quite nice, but aroma-wise, leaning more toward that bready, biscuity sort of thing, and a wee bit drier too, which this one actually smells a bit more European than the other one, so we can say that. But yeah, hoppy side of things. If you take the aroma in really deeply, you do get a bit of that more deep, dank green component, but it's not overly pungent in a way, but it's dank enough. I think we're going to get more hoppy bitterness out of the flavour of this one than we are. We're going to get more hoppy bitterness out of the flavour of this one than we are the aroma, to be honest. But there's a wee bit of earthiness in there. There's some nice floral notes. It's not really piney, this beer, but yeah, nice floral notes. A little bit of more grassy and kind of zesty character to it as well. But the green component is generally speaking quite oily. Now in terms of fruitiness, it comes across as being a little bit more old school. There's a wee touch of grapefruit in there. There's a wee touch of grapefruit, but juicy mango, wee bit of apricot and pineapple, and I actually get quite a little bit of lime out of this one. I want to say motueka because the lime is very, very juicy. But yeah, the way this one goes together, I think, is really pretty nice. Not too pungent in its aroma, but gives you everything you'd want from the West Coast IPA. So let's leave it at that for the aroma and have a taste of this one then. This one is Kurt's Insane IPA, 7.1% ABV, a West Coast IPA, this one. Let's see what it actually tastes like. Slange it. Oh yeah. I'm going to say straight away, this one just ticks the boxes. This is proper old school. Big, heavy IBU hit. Columbus springs to mind, that sort of spicy floral note that you get out of Columbus. Really just jumps out at me with this one. Yeah, this gives you everything you want. Big sweet caramelly backbone, little bit of bready dryness, big green component, and nice oily fruity character. Really good old school West Coast IPA, this one. Let's break it down. Backbone of the beer, fresh brown bready bread crust, a little bit of toasty nature to it. Further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get a wee bit of woodiness there. There's a bit of cracker, of course. Then on top of that, you get the layer of wholemeal brown bread, which is a little bit more grainy. Then you've got a fluffier white bready character sitting on top of that. And then, on top of that, you start to get the brown sugar. I think the bitterness of this one is really actually pushing back against the malty side of this beer. This pour that I have is extremely fresh. It really is extremely fresh, this one. So yeah, because the bitterness is so punchy. But yeah, above the white bready note, you get a little bit of that toasty. There's a little touch of toasty brown sugar there. Then you've got that oily circle in the middle of your palate. So at its core, it's really, really sweet caramel, which is the boozy side of the beer. Then it's surrounded by a little bit more of a kind of McVitie's digestive biscuit, and then the toasty side of things sitting underneath that. So really, really nice stuff. Yeah, malty side of this beer is really, really nice. Yeasty on the back third of your palate, you've got all the same bready layers, but you've got the yeasty notes just sitting above that. So the yeast in this one for me is kind of brown bready. It's a little bit of a more kind of white bready, crackery bread crusty sort of thing. And then you've got a wee bit of a more toasty bread crust kind of sitting on top of that as well. So the way that goes together is really nice. Once again, the malty and yeasty side of this beer is really well done. In terms of the hoppy side of the beer, for me, back corners of the palate, there's a nice little bit of earthiness in there. As you come further forward, there's pine resin, there's floral aromatic spice. Something is telling me Columbus and Chinook in this one, like old school sea hops. Like the spiciness from the floral notes is the Columbus, the pine resin's the Chinook. Round the front curve of your tongue, it's a little bit more like oily and grassy and a little touch zesty, I would say, as well. Maybe there's a wee bit of Centennial in this too, actually. It feels like it's an old school sea hopped beer, this one, like Citra, Chinook, Centennial and Columbus. That's really what I'm getting out of this one. But yeah, green component, properly big and punchy this. So front third of your palate and that nice oily bubble that you get. At the back of that front third of your tongue, you've got a little bit of grapefruit, well quite a bit of grapefruit actually coming out of this beer. Then there's a little bit of like peach sitting on top. Yeah, so you've got grapefruit, peach. Underneath that there's a little bit of like oily mango, some drier passion fruit, wee bit of apricot and pineapple as you move further forward. All of that complexity makes me think Citra. I'm getting a bit of an oily, peary, figgy sort of thing coming out of it too, which makes me think Cascade. So I think there's a bit of Cascade in this one. But then yeah, as you move further forward into the front half of that front third of your tongue, there's like a little hint of like gooseberry and a sort of lemony, limey note, and again that makes me think Citra. You know, there could be a little bit of, I think with the potency of the citrusy side, maybe a little bit of Centennial, and that's adding to the zestiness of the grassy character in here. So Centennial wouldn't surprise me, to be honest with you. And maybe even a wee bit of Equinox. Equinox is an old school hop as well. But yeah, this one is like a really old school West Coast IPA. So it's quite a nostalgic beer for me, so it just kind of, it just sort of strikes a chord, if you like. I really like how this goes together, to be quite honest with you. Properly old school sea hop West Coast IPA. That's really nice. So big thumbs up to Heart of Darkness. This one. All the beers have been really good quality so far, I have to say. Yeah. So I think we said everything we need to about the flavour. Let's round off with a wee look at the mouthfeel then. So mouthfeel wise. I'd say this beer, top end to mid-bodied, smooth carbonation, a little bit oily and slick, but really nice and clean at the same time. Your IBU count in this one, this is like, at the top end, this is like 90 or 100 IBUs. This thing is really pretty fucking bitter, to be quite honest with you. So properly old school in that sense, which I like. I miss the IPAs that were like this. Your malt base a bit drier underneath, smoother in the middle, oily and sweet on top, and then yeah, you've got that lovely big pungent fruity note coming out of this one as well. So yeah, the way that goes together is really, really nice in this one, and again, it gets a big thumbs up from me. This beer, yeah, it really ticks all the nostalgia boxes for me. I think this one's really nicely done. I think we've said everything we need to about this now. This is Kurt's Insane IPA, 7.1% West Coast IPA. This thing is a bit of a beast, I will say. Really at the opposite end of the IPA spectrum from the Loose Rivet, which we did in the last tasting. But yeah, let's leave it at that for this one, and we'll see what else we're going to do in the video. Getting still hungry, so I think food will probably be the next thing we'll see. Catch you guys in just a second. Cheers.
Alright guys, so yeah, one of the other things here at Heart of Darkness is that you can buy some of the merchandise. So yeah, you can get a cap for 200,000 Vietnamese dong, that's about £6. You can get the t-shirts as well for about 450,000, so that's maybe about, what, £12.50 sterling, something like that, so you can get your beer shirt like this. But if you come over here, you can get the cycling jersey too for 1.5 million Vietnamese dong, so that's about £45 sterling, 450 Hong Kong dollars, something like that. You guys can translate that into your own currencies. Seems the mask isn't for sale though, but yeah, nice little selection of merchandise here, I have to say. Awesome stuff. Alright guys, so as I said in the last tasting, we got quite hungry and we decided to order some food. So yeah, we have some mac and cheese croquettes, which I'm very curious about. We have the steakhouse fries,
with pulled pork and brisket on top of them. And then we have the unicorn burger, which I'm very, very curious about. So yeah, let's see what the food is like here at Heart of Darkness. Right guys, so as you saw, we got some very, very nice food, so I think it's time to try some of this. We'll start off with the mac and cheese croquettes, because I'm really curious about this. So, oh, there we go, Yulia's beer came, she's happy. Right, okay, so the cheese croquette, cheers with this. Yeah, so we've got the mac and cheese croquette, looks lovely. It's got some kind of sauce on it, I think a jalapeno sauce. Not the biggest fan of jalapenos, I'll say. Yeah, but yeah, the sauce on this looks good. What is it? Ooh. It's kind of like an almost honey cream sauce. I really don't know what that is. Yeah, let's see what these things are like though. Oh, it's almost got a little bit of a, say, like a kind of samosa type quality to it. That's really nice actually. It's like a little bit more of a kind of curry mac and cheese in a way. It's kind of weird me while I was living there. That is really nice, yeah, like, yeah, definitely more of a kind of curry mac and cheese there. As I say, quite reminiscent of Indian samosa. Love a bit of Indian samosa. Kind of an unusual thing to say about like a mac and cheese croquette, but it works, you know. Let's have a little look at the fries on their own. So, just as they are, you can see nice kind of thin American style fries. Yeah, quite crispy on the outside, soft enough on the inside, lightly salted. It works. So, I think we'll try the brisket first, because the brisket will be less sweet than the brisket will be less sweet than the pulled pork. So, can I have a little look at that? Take my face out of the camera. Is it going to zoom? It's not going to work. Yeah, but the brisket, I have to say, looks very nice, very kind of crumbly and tendery. Oh yeah. The brisket's nice, just a little bit of smokiness, but again, very kind of crumbly and it just melts in your mouth. It's really good. Okay, pulled pork time. Let's have a little look at this. Yeah. So the pulled pork. Let's look at that. Again, doesn't want to focus on the pulled pork. Yeah, but it looks really nice. Nice little bit of barbecue sauce on it. Looks really nice and juicy. Let's have a wee look. Oh yeah. The pulled pork is lovely. Let's mix it together then. We'll get a wee bit of fry, a wee bit of brisket, and a wee bit of pulled pork in there. And we'll try it all mixed together. Look at that. Oh yeah. Yeah, very sweet barbecue. Both meats are done really well. The pulled pork is just lovely and chewy, really nice and saucy and sweet. The brisket kind of crumbles in your mouth. Do you approve, Yulia?
Needs more salt.
Apparently needs more salt. Romanian.
Chili.
More salt and chili. Okay. Right. Let's have a little look at the burger then and see what we have here. We have one that has a Romanian, not Romanian, a Vietnamese flag in it. Thinking my crazy Romanian friend. So we've got this burger that has the Vietnamese flag in it because it's 50th anniversary of Vietnamese independence. Look at that. There you go. Looks lovely. So yeah, we have, what was it? I think it was hash brown, beef, bacon, some other stuff in here. Let's just have a taste of this and see what it's all about. I think this is going to be awesome. Put my plate here so I don't destroy whatever's in front of me. Now, the sauce is very like sweet and savoury in a way. It's kind of like a. How do I describe that sauce? The hash brown is the bottom layer. The beef is sitting on the top. The bacon's here as well. Bacon's quite nice and sweet as well. Really nicely cured. The sauce I'm trying to place.
It's not barbecue sauce.
Yeah, it's not barbecue, but it feels a little bit more like a kind of brown beer sauce or something like that.
It's better.
Yeah. Yeah. Quite a savoury but quite sweet sauce at the same time. I really don't know how to place that. What does it say on the menu? For the unicorn burger. It was.
This is what I don't like about having Polly the way she's
garlic aioli.
Polly.
Butterscotch. Butterscotch, yeah. Wouldn't have expected that in a burger, but it works. So I'm going to say straight away, the food here is really nice. I'm satisfied. Yulia, is your Romanian palate satisfied?
No.
No? Okay, apparently not.
White people.
Yeah.
Food.
Yeah, but she was 5 minutes ago. She wasn't hungry. Now she's digging in, so that's it. I'm quite impressed with the food here. If you get the chance, try some of it and see what you think. I'll catch you guys in a second. I think we're going to try one of the big dark beers next. I hope you guys enjoyed this little food segment. Cheers. All right, guys. So they very kindly gave me permission to go up the stairs and just have a little look. The upstairs part is closed at my time of visiting, but they were nice enough to let me go and film a tasting up here and show you guys what it looks like. Apparently on like Friday and Saturday the place is heaving and this whole venue is absolutely full. But yeah, they use this during the week mostly for functions and events and stuff like that. But yeah, it's a really nice little area. Again, they've got the beer artwork on the walls here. As I say, I love the just the whole style of the Heart of Darkness artwork too. You can see if you come up here, you can see outside, and that's of course where we were filming some of our reviews earlier. There you've got the Heart of Darkness Saigon again, and this is the bar. So yeah, the thing about here is as well, you can see the wine fridges. They've got quite a premium wine selection from what I gather, and they've got a menu both of red wines and white wines. But yeah, the next segment you are going to see in the video is my review of this guy. So yeah, I'll see you guys in just a little second with the next tasting, and this will probably be the last one. Cheers. Alright guys, well, time for our fifth and probably final beer tasting then here at Heart of Darkness, Ho Chi Minh City, Saigon, southern Vietnam. So yeah, I have to say they were very, very kind and let me come upstairs to film this last tasting. It was getting quite busy downstairs and a wee bit loud, so yeah, it would have been difficult to film down there, but you would have seen my little kind of walk around of this area before. But yeah, they've got two sort of bars in this place, which is kind of cool. It's a really nice venue, I have to say that about it. It is very, very nice. But yeah, for this fifth tasting, we are going to go to the dark end of the spectrum, which you kind of have to do when the brewery is called Heart of Darkness. And indeed, this particular style that we're going to look at now is the style that introduced me to this brewery. So yeah, this beer is called Eloquent Phantom. It comes in at 11% ABV, and this one is an Imperial Stout. So yeah, when the beer poured, it had about a 2/3 finger of a frothy, I would say kind of medium tan coloured head there. There's a few visible bubbles of carbonation to it, but you can see this one is a lovely sort of dark ebony rosewood colour. You can see that the glass is sweating a little bit just because of the temperature here. But yeah, in terms of what you would expect from an Imperial Stout, it is pretty much fitting the bill. So yeah, not much else we need to say about the appearance of this one. When it comes to the Imperial Stout as a style, there's a few different ways you can play with it. You can barrel age it, and in that case you're going to sacrifice a bit of the mouthfeel to get more kind of woody and spirit infused flavours. You can do a double mash, which is going to give you a very thick, sticky sort of mouthfeel. You can do a longer wort boil, which is going to give you more kind of complex caramelly sort of characters, or you can put adjuncts and things in it. By the sounds of it, this one was going to be like a more old school Russian Imperial style RIS type offering. I think it said they used 4 hops in it and quite a variety of different malts and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm thinking a more old school RIS is what we're going to get here. But yeah, looks as you'd expect from an Imperial Stout. Let's have a wee look at the aroma then and see what this beer is going to offer us. Yeah. Yeah, gives you everything you would want from an RIS. Or any Imperial Stout, to be honest with you. You've got a lovely roasty toasty backbone in there. You've got all these cakey, chocolatey, brown sugary type qualities. You've got just a little bit of hoppiness to it, got a wee bit of foam in my nose there, and you've got that nice little bit of juicy, fruity character coming out of it as well. So let's just break that down a wee bit further. So backbone of the beer. You've got a lovely roasty toasty, slightly well-fired bread crust in there. It doesn't come across as being too harsh actually, which makes me think German Carafa malt rather than being like special beer or something. It's a little bit more like a kind of cake edge, like a toasty cake edge rather than being well-fired bread crust. So yeah, maybe that's a better descriptor. But yeah, definitely some woodiness in there. I'm getting some rye bready character, some wholemeal brown bread, but for the most part, I'm actually getting a kind of like English Christmas pudding, you know, that sort of phenolic, fruit-infused rye bread sort of character. But yeah, English Christmas pudding is what this beer is really making me think of. The fruits in this one are particularly pungent, to be honest with you, or prominent, I should say. So yeah, for me, yeah, you've got the rye bread, sweet brown bread, the sort of sponge, you know, Christmas, English Christmas pudding, sponge cakey sort of thing. There's a nice layer of chocolate to this one, maybe 60% cocoa chocolate, something like that. I'm getting a little bit of milky chocolate out of this one as well. I'll also say that there's not too much in the way of like leathery brown sugar, which would suggest that this beer is more of a, that would suggest it has a longer wort boil. This one doesn't really come across in that way. You've got a bit of toasty brown sugar in there, there is a little touch of leathery note to it, but as I say, not prominent enough and not pungent enough to indicate a longer wort boil. Then you've got treacle, molasses, biscuity notes coming out of it. The brown sugary side of this beer is really, really nice actually. The yeasty side of this one at the back of the nose, yeah, the yeasty side of this beer for me is quite, yeah, the yeasty side of this beer for me, it's got a little bit of, it's got that kind of Christmas puddingy type note to it that I was talking about. Lots of phenolic notes as well, but yeah, it's got a wee bit more of that kind of chocolate muffin, chocolate brownie type character. So yeah, the yeasty notes really sit there at the back of the nose, that's for sure. But the aroma from the malty and yeasty side of this beer is very, very nice, I have to say that. Yeah, in terms of the hoppy side of things then, as I've said before, the Imperial Stout is not the most hop-forward style of beer, but they've used 4 hops in this one, which is probably the reason why the fruits are really so pungent in this beer. But yeah, the hoppy side of this one, you've got a lovely little bit of earthiness to it, quite a bit of floral note as well, and quite a wee bit of grassiness, but the fruity character that this beer gives you really kind of pushes back against that in a way. It sort of makes the whole hoppy character just seem that little bit more juicy. But yeah, floral notes, grassy notes, and then yeah, the way that it goes together in that regard is really nice. So the fruity side of this one for me, there's raisins in there, big juicy plums. You get a little bit of that drier figgy and datey quality underneath. Prunes as well for sure. Lots of black currants and a very sharp kind of blackberry. Very juicy, as I said. So aroma-wise, this beer is absolutely beautiful. I think it's about time that we taste this one. And I'm actually wondering whether I've had this beer before. This might well be the very first beer that I reviewed from Heart of Darkness, because my first Heart of Darkness bottle came from Finland, actually, and the name Eloquent Phantom just sort of sets off my memory a little bit. So this could well, pardon me, be the very first, a tap version of the very first beer I ever had from Heart of Darkness. So that's a nice way to round off the tastings as well. Let's get stuck into this one and see what we think. Slàinte, skål, cheers. Oh yeah, that is really pretty damn good. I'm going to say that straight away. It's a really nicely balanced stout, this one. I think in terms of style, it's definitely RIS. It's old school RIS. Its bitterness really builds into the aftertaste. What I was saying about carafa malt earlier, I think is potentially wrong with this one. Yeah, special B or just black malt in this one. This beer gets really roasty and bitter into the aftertaste. But you've got a lovely sweetness that comes in there with the impact and just rolls out of the beer. Yeah, this is beautiful. Yeah, flavor wise, this one is really, really nice. I guess a big thumbs up from me. As I say, this beer kind of strikes a chord with me because my first encounter with Heart of Darkness was the big Imperial Stouts. So again, very nice way to round off the video. Let's just break this beer down. Backbone of the beer, roasty toasty, well fired, like charcoaly black bread crust in there. That's what's really forming the backbone of this beer. Further forward on that middle third of your palate, you get the little touch of woodiness. Then above that, you start to get like a kind of, you know, it's like a cake edge, that little bit of cake that gets stuck to the baking tray. It's like that you get. Then you get, in the next layer up, you get a sweeter, more rye bready layer, then a more kind of wholemeal brown bready layer coming out of the beer. So yeah, the way that goes together is really, really nice in this one. Yeah, I think this beer as well, the keg tastes as if it's maybe it's aged a little bit because you're getting more sweetness out of it. So got a feeling this keg might have a little touch of age on it, which I think really works for the beer actually. But yeah, the cake edge note, the rye brown bread, the wholemeal brown bread, then above that, you start to get the more cakey side of the beer coming out, that sort of Christmas puddingy sort of character to the beer. But then above that, you've got the chocolatey side of this one. As I said before, sweeter flavours come out further forward on the palate, more dry and bitter flavours come out further back. So you've got a more milky chocolatey flavour coming out further forward, a more like, you know, sort of 40-50% cocoa chocolate. But then yeah, further back, you've got a sort of 80-90% cocoa chocolate coming out of this one. So yeah, you've got that there. Then above that, there's a more toasty brown sugary layer to the beer. Then yeah, down the middle line of your palate, you've got a little bit more of a kind of leathery brown sugar. But in the dead centre of your tongue, you feel that little circle there. You've got treacle, molasses, and sweet caramel there. Just a little hint of biscuit as well. Into the aftertaste, you do get a little bit of nuttiness out of this one. But of course, these are all things that you would expect of an Imperial Stout and a Russian Imperial Stout at that. So yeah, this is like a proper old school take on the RIS, and I really like this, so it's a big thumbs up from me. So we've covered the middle third of the palate. Let's go to the back third of the palate. All the other layers are the same, but on top of that, of course, you have the yeasty side of things, so let's focus on that yeasty character. So yeah, the yeasty side of this beer is where you get that really sweet phenolic Christmas puddingy note. So at its core, yeah, you've got that sweet phenolic Christmas puddingy note. Then you've got the more oily rye bready character around the edge there, and then yeah, you've got that toasty, well-fired kind of bread crusty character on the very edge there. But the yeasty character, it's interesting. The base of the malty side of this beer gives you a lot of bitterness and toastiness, but yeah, you get more sweetness actually out of the yeasty lingerings in this beer, which is something I don't think I've come across a dynamic quite like that in an Imperial Stout before, but it works. And as I say, this is a really good Imperial Stout. Yeah, I think we've said everything we need about the malty yeasty side of things. Let's look at the hoppy and fruity side then. Back corners of the palate, you do have a nice little bit of earthiness coming out of this beer. As you move further forward, it's got a little touch of yeah, you've got that earthy note there. As you come further forward, you can feel there's a little touch of piney resin in there. This seems to be a slightly more heavily hopped Imperial Stout though. But yeah, as you reach the front corners of your palate, there's some floral aromatic spice there. Then round the front curve of your tongue, it's that little bit lighter and more grassy as well. And the green component on this one's got a little bit of oiliness to it as well. But yeah, on the front third of your palate, of course, you get that nice oily bubble where the juicy fruity esters roll their way out of the beer. Let's have a wee look at that. So yeah, the fruity side of the beer for me, it's yeah, the fruity side of this beer, it's not quite as raisiny and sharp as I thought it was going to be honest with you. The aroma gave you a lot of raisins. You've got lots and lots of juicy plum at the back of that front third of your tongue. As you go down, you get that pruny, datey and sultana type note out of it. As you reach the middle of the front third of your tongue, lots of juicy figs, blackcurrant into the front half of the front third of your palate, and then yeah, you've got that juicy blackberry sort of note coming out of this one too. So yeah, all in all, the way this one goes together, I think, is really, really nice, and it gets a big thumbs up from me. The fruity side of this one, I think, goes together really well, but big roasty, toasty, bitter RIS this one for sure. So let's round off with the mouthfeel then. Mouthfeel wise, for me, this beer, it's kind of bottom end of full bodied. Carbonation has a wee bit of a prickle in this one, which is quite interesting. But the beer is quite dry and quite bitter. It's got to be 80 or 90 IBUs. It doesn't feel quite as bitter as the West Coast IPA that we had in the last video, but yeah, a lot of the bitterness is coming from the malty side of this beer, but the hops are contributing too. But the malt base, drier and roasty underneath, smoother in the middle, and drier and sweeter on top. Then yet lovely juicy fruitiness to this one. But a beautiful Imperial Stout this, and I will need to check just before I round off the video as to whether this was the very first beer that I tried from this brewery. But yeah, this was the Eloquent Phantom and 11% Imperial Stout. I'm pretty sure RIS, our last beer here at Heart of Darkness. I think we're going to try something a little bit special before we end the video, but yeah, really cool to try this beer. So I'll catch you guys in just a little second with something else. Beautiful beer this, give it a go. Cheers. Alright guys, well, something a little bit special to round off the video. I decided to order the chocolate stout cake because this is made with the Eloquent Stout Phantom that we reviewed just a little second ago, and I checked and it turns out the Eloquent Phantom was the very first beer I ever encountered from Heart of Darkness Brewery. So yeah, this seems like another nice way to round off the video. Let's have a little taste of this and see what we've got. Alright guys, so let's see what this cake is like because it looks absolutely beautiful. We'll try a wee bit without the cream. Hard on the top actually, I didn't realise. And yeah, look at that. As you can see, the camera zooms in. Nah, doesn't want to. Oh yeah. The sponge in this one is really lovely, very, very soft. The chocolate on the top is oh yeah, the chocolate on the top is maybe like 50-60% cocoa. It's a really nice balance between milk and dark chocolate, and the kind of sort of foamy part in the middle of the cake is, oh yeah, it's got like a wee bit of like praline or nut or something to it as well. Beautiful, like really, really nice. Let's try a wee bit of it with the cream to see what that's like. If I can get a chunk to come off. There we go. Making a mess of this, but there you go. Oh yeah, that really is very, very nice. So we can conclude the chocolate stout cake is absolutely worth trying. So yeah, really nice balance of like chocolate sponge, sweet chocolate, wee bit of nuttiness, and the chocolate on top is lovely. Hey guys, just another little tiny thing to add about the cake is that if you pair it with the Eloquent Phantom Stout, you get lots more kind of booziness out of the stout, and the fruits just become that little bit sharper. it makes for a really interesting experience just to pair these two things together. But yeah, that is the end of my thoughts on the chocolate stout cake. Absolutely worth trying. I'll give you my final thoughts on our time here at Heart of Darkness Brewery in just a second. Catch you then. Cheers.
Alright guys, well that is the end of our time then here at Heart of Darkness Brewery's taproom in Saigon, Ho Chi Minh City in southern Vietnam. So yeah, Yulia and I had a really nice couple of hours here. It was a really good time. I got to try 5 different beers. We started with the Bia, which was their kind of regular lager. That was really nicely done. We had the Stubborn Scoundrel, which was the cold IPA. Really enjoyed that actually, a little bit different compared to others I've had. Then I had the New England IPA. The name of that has gone right out of my head. Was it Loose something? I forget. But that was a really nice New England hazy. Then we had the Insane West Coast IPA. I forget the first part of that name as well, but that was a really nice old school Seahawked West Coast IPA. And then we finished off with the Eloquent Phantom Imperial Stout, and that was really cool to try that beer again, because it turns out that was the very first beer that I ever encountered from this brewery back in 2021. So yeah, kind of went full circle with this brewery in this video, which was cool. But yeah, we got to try some of the food as well. We had one of the burgers, the unicorn burger, which was very, very nice. We tried the macaroni and cheese croquettes, and also we had the kind of loaded fries with the brisket and the pulled pork. All of the food was really, really good quality. The prices of the beers here, I think, are a little bit cheaper than the other breweries in Ho Chi Minh City. So yeah, worth checking out in that regard as well. But the quality is very, very good. You really can't go wrong. The chocolate cake as well, the chocolate stout cake was absolutely lovely. So yeah, in total for all of the stuff, we ended up splitting the bill. So that was 900,000 Vietnamese dong, which translates to 270 Hong Kong, 270 Hong Kong dollars, 27 pounds sterling, 30 euros, maybe about $33 American, something like that. So if you have other currencies, you can translate it from there. But yeah, very, very good value for all the stuff we had, and the quality of the food and the beer was really very, very nice. So really glad that I got to visit this place. The staff were awesome and really looked after us very well. So very high recommendations for Heart of Darkness Taproom here in Saigon. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. As always, check out Heart of Darkness's social media, check out mine, let me know your own thoughts on this place and their beer in the comment section below, and I will catch you guys in another video very soon. I had real fun filming here in Vietnam. I'm sure I will be back. This place is chaos, but it's just, you know, oddly charming, I have to say. So yeah, we will be back in Vietnam. Until the next time, catch you guys very soon, and yeah, I hope you've enjoyed these videos. Ciao just now.